Okay, episode 11. So we start off with Ami's mom arriving at the airport. She has touchdown in Korea. And then we are going right back to the whole Dongmi, Piyung, Ami, Yushin scene. Dongmi calls Ami a leech, and apparently Ami doesn't know what that is. So Yushin's just trying to do anything he can to get Ami out of there, as opposed to Yushin less than an hour ago thinking that it was a good idea to bring her there in the first place. Wow, what a genius. So Piyung is just picking up right where she left off. She tells Ami, "You're not going anywhere. If you leave now, you're basically admitting to the affair, and let me see your phone so we can just clear this up." So Dongmi continues to berate Yushin, but she also throws in some more compliments for Piyung. So we know for a fact that just an episode or so ago, she was still kind of plotting against Piyung, and of course she couldn't have predicted this whole Ami thing. But what do you guys think? Do you think Dongmi is genuinely on Piyung's side here completely, or do you think she's also in some ways putting on a front and is still planning on plotting behind her back? So then Yushin tells Ami, "Just go, you can leave." And Piyung tells Yushin, "Hey, be at court tomorrow at 10, it's going down." Okay, so back to Ami's mom. She calls the doc, which is Ami's dad, and they plan to meet up. And it looks like we're gonna get the reveal for Ami and the doc knowing who they are and how they're related during this episode, and I can't wait for that. Alright, back to Piyung and Yushin. Yushin tells Piyung he's not gonna come to court tomorrow, and it looks like pretty much all he can do right now is just run away and avoid everything. He needs time to, I guess, regroup and come up with a plan. After this, we get another Dongmi Piyung talk where Dongmi is still trying to talk about how, oh, you don't want Ami to win, and Piyung says it's not about winning or losing, which I'm glad to see that she has that attitude, honestly. Yushin doesn't really deserve another chance. However, the fact remains that Ji-ah is gonna be crushed by this, and I think she is the only reason Piyung is even entertaining any discussions like this with Dongmi or anyone else. And meanwhile, Ami is back at home thinking, I'm gonna make him mine at all costs. It looks to me like she's psyching herself up for a psycho crazy mode activation, and she'll most likely be ready for any round 2 that might come in the future. Okay, back to the doc and the mom, and they meet and talk about Ami, and it looks like the dad wants to meet with her, and the mom is okay with that now, and yeah, it seems like it's gonna happen pretty soon. Okay, so you may have noticed I'm skipping scenes with Hae-ryun and Ga-bin. I'm also skipping scenes with Sahyun's parents. Why? Cause fuck them, that's why. But I will be going over scenes where it's actually part of the plot. So yes, here Yushin calls up Hae-ryun to meet up with him. And we've seen the scene in the preview from last week that they're gonna meet up and talk, so that explains this. I guess Yushin wants to talk to him about snitching on him. Okay, back to Piyung, and she is kind of losing it. She's remembering all the stuff that Yushin said to her and how it was all a lie, and she starts kind of crazy laughing / crying, and yeah, I'm worried about her. I hope she doesn't go off the deep end. I mean, I like that she's gone off the deep end in terms of bringing hell and fire onto Yushin, but I don't want her to go off the deep end, if you know what I mean. I don't want her to lose her sanity. Dongmi overhears this, and she understands why Piyung might be like that, but she also wonders if she's going crazy just like me. And so if Dongmi is still plotting behind Piyung's back somehow, then I guess this would be something she might be able to take advantage of, but we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, then we finally get the Yushin Hae-ryun crossover, and it was actually pretty interesting. Yushin basically just says, "What the fuck, dude? Bros over hoes. What happened to that? Come on, we're guys." And Hae-ryun basically just says, "It seems like you love your wife more than the mistress that you have, and you're gonna choose your wife over the mistress? Is that what you're doing? Then why would you still be with this mistress? You should end it with her." And Hae-ryun is another fellow adulterer, but at least when he did it, he made his choice and stayed with it. It looks like Yushin is moving in that direction too, except in the opposite way. So it seems his plan right now is to ask Hae-ryun, to ask Si-yun, to ask Piyung not to get a divorce. Whew, this guy is desperate. That's some weak ass shit right there. Okay, then real quick, I gotta shout out everybody in the stream. We called it, guys. The Dongmi Ami fight was a fantasy, and it was Ami's fantasy, and she was just chilling at the crib thinking about it. I called that part, but you guys nailed it. Some of you did in the stream. And at this point when this happens, I just kind of laugh about it. And honestly, I'm just enjoying them now because even though it didn't actually happen, it's still fun to see the fight scene, even if it's a fantasy. Plus, Dongmi screaming while she fights is always freaking hilarious, so not mad about it, but yeah, we knew it was coming. So after that fantasy scene, Ami is basically thinking to herself, hey, come here and I'll kick your ass anytime. Like, that's why she was having that fantasy. And yeah, Ami, except that the last time you were face to face with her, she pulled up on you and started yoking you up, and you just didn't do shit. So I'm gonna need you to back up that talk next time you see her. Okay, so then we're back to the Ami meeting her dad thing. The mom tells Ami about the dad and how they can meet up if she wants to, and Ami really wants to see her dad, and you can see that same desperation in her eyes and in her voice that she has with Yushin for her dad now, with wanting to meet her dad. And that's a good sign for me. I think it means that there's a similar need that she has, that she's trying to fulfill with Yushin, and hopefully she can now redirect to her actual dad. Meanwhile, Dongmi is wondering to herself, shouldn't I be happy that they might get divorced? It actually seems like Dongmi is legitimately conflicted, even as evil as she was portrayed to be before. She may still get back on her evil shit, but right now it seems like she's kind of up in the air about it. She doesn't know what to think. I think she's just so blindsided by Yushin. The evil monster side of her is conflicted with the being a woman and supporting fellow women and men cheating on women side of her that still exists, that little bit of human left in her. Okay, but then Ami and the doc finally meet up, father and daughter reunited, and when they see each other and realize that they already know each other from before, we get the showdown of the crazy eyes. Whoa, that was intense. So they all sit down and eat, and yeah, it's a little bit awkward. They start talking, and the doc seems pretty chill. Ami just looks completely awkward and uncomfortable, and Ami finds out that she has a younger brother as well, which cool. He looks like a nice guy. But then the scene turns up real quick. So the doc wonders out loud about Yushin and Ami's relationship, since that's where they knew each other from already. And the parents quickly descend on Ami with millions of questions and figure out she's involved in an affair with Yushin, and they just start scolding her, and I, for one, loved it. This is exactly what Ami needs and has been missing from her life. Parental guidance and a good scolding. She's been on her own with no adult figure to be there to put her in check, and now she's getting it from Mama Me and Papa Me. Ami tries to flip the script on them and calls out the doc for not knowing anything about her and not being there for her before, and her mom for having her young or something, but And this whole scene is basically like a classic teenage parent scene in a teen movie. Ami storms out like a whiny brat as if her parents just told her she can't see her motorcycle boyfriend with tattoos who's a bad influence on her, smoke cigarettes, and is named Tyson or something anymore. Except, whoops, she's a fully grown woman and she's seeing a married man almost in his 50s with a wife and a kid. But yeah, I'm loving the Mama Me, Papa Me team up here on Ami. She needs this in her life, guys. And in this scene, we can see that the doc is also, of course, understandably pissed at Yushin, and I don't know, Yushin, you're getting outnumbered by the scene here. The doc seems like a totally chill, calm dude, but he's got those crazy eyes when he gets mad, and those are the same eyes he passed down to Ami. And I wouldn't want to mess with him when he's got those eyes going. And the doc says that he's just gonna pull up on Yushin himself, and I really hope he does. That would be awesome. Okay, then we get the Siyun and Yushin sit down, and there's a lot to unpack here for sure, but real quick, basically Yushin tells Siyun, please help me persuade Piyung not to get a divorce, and Siyun questions him about why he cheated, and he basically says he was just curious or interested in Ami and not in love with her. Okay. He also says that he's ended it, but she's still clinging on, and also that he wants to save his marriage. He also says he regrets what he did, and I believe that. And I'm not sure, of course, if it's in a noble way, like he actually really regrets cheating and doesn't ever want to do it again and all of that. But I am sure that he just doesn't like the consequences of what he's done and he regrets it because of that. This might be a hot take, but I also do believe that he does love Pi Young. It doesn't mean I'm excusing him for what he did, but I think there is a part of him that does love her and wants to get the marriage back and save it because of that. Whether he deserves another chance or not is up to Pi Young. And then we get another big helping of satisfaction, guys. Time to eat. The doc and his wife see Yushin pull up in the parking lot of the hospital. They were looking for him before that, and the doc just runs up on him and punches him right in the face, and it's beautiful. I was not expecting that, but when it happened, I was just like, okay, doc, okay. And he calls out Yushin, and Mama Mi gets in on it too. She like hits Yushin with her bag or something, and they're just berating him and going off on him, but he does manage to get them to come inside with him and talk more. So once they're inside, Yushin explains more about the relationship, and he does manage to kind of guilt trip the parents a bit for not being there for Ami. He tells them she's unstable and she's been alone in Korea and she's hurt herself and been in the hospital. And the doc is still on his rampage though and says you never should have dated her in the beginning and hits Yushin again. Now, I love this, don't get me wrong. I love what the doc is doing, but I've got to give Yushin some credit here too. The dude ate those punches like a champ. Like, he was unbothered by those punches. Okay, so after this, Ami's parents run into Ami herself outside of the hospital, and they argue some more, and Ami wants them to stay out of it, and they say, you're tripping, and she's like, you weren't there for me before, don't try to be there now, da-da-da-da. And all this time, a random girl notices the scene and starts filming them. We find out that she's actually related to the doctor. She calls her aunt to tell her that the doctor has another child. I wasn't exactly sure. I couldn't work out exactly how all those relationship family ties worked out, but oh my fucking god. This has got to stop. It really has to stop. The music that plays in this scene tells me this is supposed to be funny. Really? So a completely nude ghost Dr. Shin, and I mean completely nude, like no clothes on, completely naked. Of course, his parts are censored. I guess there's still censorship in the afterlife. So he's back at the pool and stretching? Oh God, I'm gonna throw up. And I just want to say, I really feel bad for all of you heterosexual females out there watching this scene, because this is such a confusing mix of visuals here. You're getting naked, old, ghostly, dead Mr. Shin walking around at the pool in the same scene where you're also getting a shirtless Dongma Boo Bae, and you must not know how to feel at all right now. Anyways, I'm sorry guys, but I always thought this dude was just being a perv last episode. Some of you were saying, oh, well, maybe he's trying to possess people and learn possession techniques. Nah, I'm sorry. He's just straight up being a creep. Nothing more. He goes up and cops a feel on this woman trying to chat up Dong Ma in the pool. And yeah, let's just move on before I violently vomit all over the place. Okay, so then real quick, Mr. So wants to meet up with Song Wan again. Oh, God. Okay. Then we get another scene with Pi Young and Dong Mi, and they're still talking about how Dong Mi wants her to not get divorced, and Pi Young's like, nah, bro, I don't know. And Dong Mi eventually tells Pi Young that she's gonna drive back to her old place and stay there to make sure Ami isn't coming by there while Yushin is staying there. Okay, then we also get this scene with Hye-ryung and Sa-hyun, and they're meeting with, I couldn't tell, somebody help me out in the comments, was this Hye-ryung's sister and her husband? I couldn't quite figure out what the relationship was there. Anyways, it's really fucking awkward because that couple is super lovey-dovey and happy in their married life and keep asking for relatable things to talk about with Hye-ryung and Sa-hyun, and they're just sitting there like, yeah. And after the date, Hye-ryung tries to extend an olive branch to Sa-hyun and tells him, you know what, I can tell that you definitely treated me right after talking with those guys. Let's try to make this work. I know it's been hard for you. And we can't really tell from Sahyun's response. It doesn't seem like he was touched by that necessarily, but he doesn't seem like pissed either. He's just kind of like, yeah, sure. And then we get this scene again with Mama Mi and Ami, and the mom's trying to convince her to stop seeing Yushin, but Ami is just completely delusional and stuck in her ways. And the poor mom is just looking at Ami like, this is my kid? Really? This is who my kid grew up to be? Fuck. Then we get Pyoung telling Ji-ah that she wants to move in and stay at her mom's place for a while to feel her presence, and it's just going to be the two of them because Yushin prefers to stay with Dong-mi. Ji-ah is a little confused as to why Yushin isn't coming, but she eventually buys into it, and yeah, eventually Ji-ah has to find out unless Pyoung changes her mind and saves the marriage, but for now, I guess this is Pyoung's story that she's telling Ji-ah to explain why they're not in the same house. Alright, so then Song-won and Mr. So meet up, and he asks her if she can tutor him after she gives birth because he wants her to bring the baby so he can see it, because he hasn't been around them that much. He doesn't feel a need to fall in love, but he loves babies. This was a really, really weird thing for him to ask. Like, there's no problem with him not wanting to fall in love and also feeling attached to babies or liking babies or the thought of taking care of babies. I don't think that's weird. It was just so weird for him to just dump that on Song-won all of a sudden out of nowhere. And I guess Song-won just has this gift where everyone she talks to wants to open up to her. She should have been a therapist or something and not a translator. Anyways, she says that she'll think about it. Okay, and then the last scene, we get Pyoung leaving the house early, not telling anyone, but then tells Ji-ah that she's at the pool with her dad. Turns out she wants to meet with Yushin and talk, but about what? Is she gonna change her mind? We'll just have to find out in episode 12. And with that being said, let's get right into episode 12. There was no preview in this episode, so we don't have to go over that. So let's just get right into it. All right, episode 12. This was an epic episode, I guess is how I'll put it. I'll get more into what I think about the episode as a whole after I go over what happened. So let's just get to the main points. So we pick up right where we left off, and Pyoung and Yushin sit down, and Yushin is basically just trying to act like nothing's wrong and it's business as usual with them, but Pyoung's not having any of it, and she just says, "We're going to court later. We're still going." And what is with this guy and 3 to 5 years? That's like his plan, his go-to anytime anyone asks him anything. "Hey, Yushin, you didn't call me back. What gives?" "Oh yeah, I'll get back to you. Just give me 3 to 5 years." "Hey, Yushin, what should I do about my love life? This guy isn't texting me back. How long should I wait?" Just give it 3 to 5 years. So then he also comes with the whole, "Well, I was perfect for all the time except for when I cheated, so how can you divorce me over this one time I messed up when I've been so great otherwise?" And yeah, that's not how it works, dude. So when that doesn't work, he tries to dangle Ji-ah in front of Pyoung. Proverbially, I mean, not literally. And Pyoung is not having it still, and she storms out. And they go to the car, and Pyoung says she's gonna drive, but Yushin just ignores her and gets in the driver's seat. Alright, so then in the car they talk more, and Yushin just has this endless stream of weak-ass bullshit coming out of his mouth, but Pyoung just cleans it up easily and shuts it down. Alright, so then big surprise, he does not go to the courthouse, and Pyoung just kind of accepts that, I guess. They just go back to the house and she just lets it happen. I guess she's gonna hear him out a bit more before. So when they get back to the house, Yushin brings out the big guns. Oh yeah, Pyoung, get ready, cause he's about to kneel on the ground and say forgive me in a monotone, emotionless, expressionless manner. Take that, Pyoung. That'll crack your icy heart. Anyways, nothing is working for this guy. He even tries saying he's her son and she's like his mother, so she would forgive her son if he messed up, right? So Pyoung also tells him she's not gonna change her mind even in 10 years, and well, I guess that's a wrap for Yushin and his give me 3 to 5 years looking ass. So now Yushin is talking about robots and angels, and this is just going really bad for him. it's pretty embarrassing. Wait a minute, did this guy really just say the world isn't always beautiful as an excuse for why he cheated? And right now his main thing is, hey, don't rush into this, wait for a while, and then maybe you'll think it over and reconsider. And yeah, not working. P-Young's not having it. So at this point, I'm thinking, wow, this scene is kind of dragging on a little bit, so I'm not going to go over everything in this conversation. Yushin just keeps coming with the bullshit, and P-Young just keeps shooting it down, and she sees through everything. She sees through him with her Sharingan. He's just digging a bigger and bigger hole for himself. She's unlocked the Mangekyo Sharingan because he betrayed her. Okay. Oh, I have to mention, too, that Yushin also compares himself to pre-fermented kimchi, so that happened. Yushin is saying, well, yeah, I had an affair, but I still love you. It doesn't take away from the fact that I love you. I can have different kinds of love, and they can both exist at the same time. One of my forms of love doesn't make the other disingenuous. He's also still saying the whole I made one mistake thing, and that from now on he'll be better and work harder, so let's just leave this all behind and forget about it. And he's still also bringing in the Ji-Ah angle that don't do this to her, it would ruin her life. And P-Young is basically saying there's no trust between us now, and that's the main thing. Everything you said is invalidated because of what you did, and you can still love me, that's fine, but I can't forget what you did, and it's the trust that has been broken, and for that reason, it stops me from being able to love you. Okay, so finally, after so much talk back and forth, and a lot of good points, and a really great acting performance, by the way, this is probably really hard to shoot. It's a lot of lines to memorize and to act out well. Congrats to the actors, bravo. And it went on for literally like half an hour, but wow, it's finally over and it ends. P-Young says, okay, I heard you out. Now we're going to court. So after all his metaphors and logic and reasoning and his pleas, Yushin got nowhere. Probably made it worse, actually. And damn, man, you really tried pulling out everything you had, and you're right back in the same place with P-Young wanting to go to court. So she gets up to go, but then he says, I won't go to court with you, only death will do us apart, or something like that. And then she turns around and yeah, we're sitting back down and we're not done. Okay, this scene is gonna continue. So I guess this was just like a halftime or something. So Yushin is rejuvenated, he's back, bringing up Queen Elizabeth now to compare it to their marriage, and they're really just getting back into this whole conversation again. And it was at this point that I just started to wonder about this episode as a whole, so I skimmed the cursor over the timeline on the Netflix player. My suspicions were confirmed. This entire episode is going to be just them talking, sitting here. And now that I know that, I'll try to just keep touching on main points and see where this goes. So let's continue. I'm not being lazy when I say they really do repeat themselves a lot in this scene, in this episode. Same thing. A lot of the stuff they're saying is just going in circles and repeating the same things over and over again. Now, that's not a bad thing or bad writing. I actually think it's pretty realistic, because when people are in this kind of situation, especially Yushin, you know how people like that, when they're trying to convince somebody, they just keep going over their same points and keep talking in circles because they can't let it go. So basically, they're going over their whole marriage and things that happened in the past and what it's like to be a husband and a wife and gender roles and all that good stuff. They go over Ami and why he liked her in the first place, and he talks about her being a younger sister to him and her daddy issues and da-da-da-da-da. And all this time, Yushin just can't stop with the metaphors and analogies, and none of it is working. Like, none of it. There's especially this one, boys play with toys, and then eventually they get tired of playing with toys, and I literally can't believe he compared P-Young to a toy that he got tired of. I don't know how she even kept talking to him after that. I would have just fucking stormed out after that. Okay, then Yushin goes back to the we're all flawed creatures thing to justify his cheating. Okay. Then he turns to the, hey, I cheated, but I'm still way better than a lot of other guys out there argument. And yeah, I think I'll just keep going through all of his arguments that he tries to make. Oh, also, thank you, P-Young, for standing up for us men out there and saying we're not all animals. Appreciate that. We've got your back. Fuck this guy. So after saying this, she says, hey, I've said what I had to say. That's it. I don't want to hear anymore. And she gets up to get a drink. So Yushin has a little moment to think by himself while she's up getting a drink. And what he comes up with in that moment of reflection is, hey, I think I'll try to bring up P-Young and her mom and that whole thing and call Pyoung out for that. That's a great idea. And wow, Yushin, I mean, you've been on such a roll up until now, so why not? He did bring this up earlier too, but I guess he's just not done poking the bear, and he just can't keep his big yap shut, and yup, Pyoung slaps him in the face. This man has been slapped, punched again, slapped again. How does he not have any marks or bruises on his face? This guy literally might not be human. He might be an android. I don't know. Okay, so now Yushin is far from done with his bullshit. So now his new argument is he tries to tell Pyoung it's her shortcoming as a person. It's her flaw that she can't forgive him for cheating. And he also says, I was just having a little bit of fun. So what? Yeah, guys, so what? How could she be such a bad person and not forgive him? And I can't believe how stupid this man is. He's raising his voice like he's actually saying something, like he's turning up or something, but really it's just turning up the stupidity level. That's what you come up with? Right, it's Pyoung that wants to break up the family. It's Pyoung that's gonna break Jia's heart. He really tried to make it seem like it's all her fault, and then after she points that out, he immediately says, hey, I'm just saying we shouldn't be pointing fingers. Hey. So after all of this, Yushin even tries to lash out at us, the audience. He says, hey, it's easy for all of you to judge me when it's not happening to you. You can say you'd never do this or that, but it's much harder when you're actually in it and it's happening to you. And that is a fair point in general, like out of context, right? It's way easier to sit and judge somebody else's story and say that you would have done this or you would have done that, but when you're faced with those situations, it's a lot harder. But given all that, what do you guys think? You letting him slide? All right, so after this, he kind of redesigns his approach with bringing up her mom and that whole similarity with Pyoung, and he repackages it as telling Pyoung, hey, you can break this cycle that started with your mom and might continue with Ji of wives not being able to forgive their husbands and getting a divorce, which ultimately leads to bad lives for everyone. You can make that right choice right now. Break the cycle. The thing is, though, that only makes sense if you subscribe to his argument that it's the woman's fault for not forgiving rather than the man's fault for cheating and betraying the trust they had in the first place. All right, and then Yushin goes for the broken inner child thing and talks about, hey, my mother didn't give me enough love, my dad wasn't around, and that's what made me have an affair. And again, no, that's not gonna work either. Stuff like that happens to you in life can definitely affect you as a person, but it doesn't excuse you from something like this where you definitely had a choice, you had agency. And yeah, it's just another attempt on his part to justify his actions. Nothing made you have an affair. Also, what the fuck, Yushin? Thanks a lot. Pyoung had our backs before as men and said that we weren't all the same, but now, after all the shit you said, not only did you not save yourself, but you dragged all other men down with you, and now Pyoung thinks we're all the same. Thanks a lot, asshole. So Pyoung has not changed her mind, and Yushin says, come back to me anytime if you change your mind, but preferably in 3 to 5 years. Also, in this moment, we see some tears start to well up in his eyes, and it looks like his circuits got crossed and he's leaking a little fluid here. So Pyoung also says she's not going to do what her mom did. She's going to let Ji-ah see Yushin going forward. So I guess the question is, will she even want to see him? Okay, so finally they are done talking. This time for real. And Pyoung goes to blow her nose and wipe her tears. Poor Pyoung, she has been through so much. Anyways, she goes to leave, but then Yushin gets on his knees again and says sorry for a bunch of shit. He's kind of done making excuses and trying to justify himself. Now he's just saying sorry. And he says sorry for his role in Pyoung not being able to make up with her mom before she passed. And in thinking about her mom, Pyoung falls down. She kind of collapses just because of all the emotions. And she's just breaking down, and she starts talking about how she was never there for her mom and how sorry she is and how wrong she did her mom and how she didn't show her enough appreciation when she was alive. And Yushin, the android, is leaking again. And Yushin also says to come to him for advice, tells Pyoung to come to him whenever she needs it, no matter what, he'll always be there. And he literally could have just had this approach from the start, it would have turned out better for him. It doesn't mean that Piyung wouldn't have gotten the divorce, but he probably would have had a better chance. I feel like most of the stuff he said during this episode just made him look even worse. But it does seem now at the end like he is caving and admitting defeat. He's going to let the divorce happen. And now it's finally completely done and they are walking out the door. And that's going to be it for this episode. Wow, it was epic in its own way, I think, actually. Like I said before, amazing performances by both actors. A lot of lines to get out, a lot of lines to put emotion in and make believable. And yeah, no, I really enjoyed this, actually. I enjoyed the argument. I enjoyed the very realistic take on this discussion. It really showed how desperate Yushin was and how he tried every fucking argument possible. Ultimately, it didn't work for him, but yeah. Okay, so the preview for next week, it looks like we're back to the regular format. We got some Piyung maybe pursuing Mr. So stuff. We got Ami and Piyung meeting up, and also Dongmi looks like she's gonna make her move on Yushin, and also she's gonna get interrupted by Ami showing up. Maybe there will be a round 2 between them after all. All of this stuff looks pretty grounded in reality, so maybe there's not gonna be too much fantasy clickbait shit. Who knows? But yeah, that's going to do it for this video and this review. I hope you guys enjoyed. What do you think about this episode? Did you find it boring? Did you find it really interesting? I know for me, I actually enjoyed it a lot. It did drag on for a long time, but I think I was just so impressed with it overall that it was actually great. What do you think is going to happen moving forward? Are they going to get the divorce? Will Piyung change her mind? We're just going to have to wait and see. But that's going to do it for me, and I'm TwoTenEast, and I'll see you guys next week.